Good morning, everyone. It is 8 o'clock on the dial. Just want to say welcome. My name is Jennifer Baker. I'm working with PacStates, and today we have Michael Buis, our CEO, and Sarah Bridge, our local telco therapist. We named her that, and you'll see why in just a little bit. This is the phone systems, the things to consider when you're looking at a phone system. We welcome all of you to the call and to our webinar. We appreciate your time today. Just a little housekeeping. Everyone is on mute and you'll stay off and off camera as well. But as soon as we're finished, we will open up for questions and comments, and Sarah and Michael will be available to ask any type of fund solution provider requests as well. Everyone after this that joins us does have a free consultation to sit with us and ask an expert anything, which will make it really fun for you and much more personal. So we appreciate you being here. As we get started, we are just covering basically everything you need to know when you're considering a phone system. The three things you really need to know will be covered as well. So we'll focus in on those top three, but then hone in on the rest. Michael has been with the telecom industry since 1987 with PacStates, and he's gone through the entire ranks of the company and taken over as the CEO. And with the reins, he's done some pretty amazing things to change his company from just a phone system company all the way through to everything telecom, communications, digital, and as you see, we also work through Zoom and some other video conferencing as well. So welcome, Michael, and we have our other solution provider, Ms. Sarah Bridge with PacStates as well. She is our telco therapist, as I said. We named her that with all loving respect, of course, but this woman is a saint in my mind when she's dealing with some of the client issues she's had to deal with, protecting our clients from different issues between billing and contract negotiations, and you name it, some of the other crazy things that have happened to our clients in the past. And really looking forward to having her share for the first time ever some of those stories here with us today. So welcome, Michael and Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, thank you for joining. We'll try to make this clear and succinct and try not to get off into too many rabbit holes.
Yeah, you never know.
But anybody that knows me knows I'm good at the rabbit holes.
I'll keep them on track.
There you go. That's why you're the therapist.
Yes.
I am not.
Yes.
Or I'm in need. Anyway,
here
hey, top of the line, three things you need to know. We have found through our years, as she'd mentioned, we've been doing phone systems since 1986. They have really evolved over the years. We lament over the good old days when we had good old standard analog POTS lines that worked, and everybody believed it was their God-given right to have dial tone and voice. Now it's evolved over to, we bring your voice in over the internet. It's part of your network infrastructure, and it's a bit and a byte, and
no longer separate.
No longer separate. Anyway, it's interesting evolution, and a lot of that's had to do with the enhancement of internet availability to business and residential locations. So that's allowed the cloud industry, if you will, for phones to kind of evolve quicker as it has. But what's really important, we feel, is that this is not plug and play. And a lot of our, I'll call it competition, or people in the space and field like to, hey, email me what you need. I'll email you a quote, and it's plug and play.
Yeah,
and
we'll have it turned up tomorrow for you.
We'll have it turned up tomorrow. And we're just here to remind people that it is still a phone system. And it's not plug and play. And there's a lot of details. So we like to say the devil's in the details. And obviously what PacStates brings to the table is, we added it up one time, it was over 250 years of cumulative experience with voice processing, call flow, and just basically knowing how to get from point A to point B. We like to say that we are your interpreter between what you need and what you think you need and the cloud people.
And your advocate, because you will need one.
And we are your advocate. So let's get started. So we'd like to relate this to building a structure. Building a building. You wouldn't build a building without a floor plan, without engineering, and everything's based on the foundation. If the foundation is not good, it typically will topple.
Mhm. Absolutely. And, in the past, with an actual phone system, most companies would never have considered going out and buying a phone system and plugging that thing in and getting it all set up on their own. There's just too many parts and pieces. So although the hardware is no longer on your location, it's still a phone system.
It's still a phone system. So we promote pre-planning. So some very generalities, if you will, and you may think this is a little superficial, but what's the goal of the project? What is it you're trying to achieve? What's your definition of success? We may have one and yours may be different. And unless we're on the same page, we'll have different outcomes. And, disappointments derive from unrealistic expectations. So we like to set the expectation and make sure we're on the same page. What's your target completion date? I mean, that's huge. There are a lot, as you'll see, as we go through this process, there's a lot of pieces and parts that have to come together. And if it's not done correctly, one, it will cost the client a lot more money. And more importantly, a lot of frustration, and your client experience will degrade drastically.
Right. And we want to set the proper expectations. So we will let you know if what you're expecting, may not be realistic. We'll just tell you up front.
Well, we still have it all the time. Hey, I just signed a lease. I need internet in 3 weeks and I need my phone system moved.
Right. And maybe the location can't even get fiber.
Yeah, and we're not the big cities, so not all internet is at all buildings like you would expect in a major metropolitan. And so that's part of our process that we go through. So, hey, let's stay out of the rabbit holes. Let's stay on cue here. So building basics. Sarah, what do you think?
This is where I come in. So I'm going to ask for copies of more than you want to provide, but all of your phone bills, your internet bills, any maintenance agreements you have on your existing traditional phone system, because the coordination of your existing services and the new services is just critical. One thing you'd be surprised to hear is a lot of people come to me after they've purchased a cloud phone system from perhaps a direct rep, and they will be really upset because they've found out that they're still in contract for their voice services with the carrier. So I've actually talked to a number of people who are now contracted for 3 years for 2 phone systems. So we absolutely want to avoid that whenever possible. So one of the things we're looking for is, are you in contract? We will not sell you anything if you're in contract. So that's, again, goes back to the foundation.
Or we'll help try to mitigate the ETFs, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So we can negotiate with carriers sometimes, get you additional incentives or things to help cover any kind of early termination fee, but we want to know all of that before we dive in. We're going to look at your existing phone system, how it's set up. So, your extensions, users, departments, how you route your calls, basic things like that. Also, a lot of times the analog phone lines get missed. So we're really interested in taking a look at, do you have analog lines for anything like faxing, fire, alarm, external paging. Yeah, all that. So we want to be very thorough in our discovery before we propose a
And
solution.
each cloud provider addresses those auxiliary items such as external paging differently.
Yep.
So it may end up costing you more money because you need another profile. And how's it set up?
Right. And there may be additional equipment required to make it work. So, we're here to help guide you through all of that.
And so if it's not uncovered up front, then it becomes a surprise, an emergency expense, and it could slow down the cutover because you're waiting.
Right.
Because it is important.
Or if we get to the cutover, surprise, something might not work, which is what we want to avoid.
So this gets into our architectural design. We'll go through, this is all pre-sale, if you will. This is our evaluation because all the cloud carriers have different strengths and weaknesses. And our job, as it has been since 1986, is we handle multiple providers, manufacturers, and our job is to see which one best fits your needs. So that's what we look at. So when we get into I call it architectural design, call flow. Call flow isn't just external callers, clients calling you, it's also internal callers, your internal clients, your different departments. How do you interact in between departments? Do you want an automated attendant? Do you want direct inward dial? A lot of your legacy phone systems, you don't have direct inward dial. So, and today with everybody on cell phones, there's nothing more frustrating than please enter 1 for this and 2 for that. Whereas if you had a direct dial number, it rings me and it does however it's programmed.
Do they want to chat?
Yep. Well,
Message.
hey, hold that thought.
Sorry, am I getting ahead?
Hey, hold it. See how you are? You're always getting ahead of
I'm
it.
always a step ahead of them.
There you are. You are always. That's why you're the therapist and I'm not, right? So, but we get into a lot of call flow discussions such as disruptive ringing. I love that one because most managers and business owners want that call answered within 3 rings. How do they do that? They typically have every phone ring in the front office. Well, we have proven over and over and over that that is highly disruptive and inefficient for both your office staff and for the callers calling in. So we'll go through that and figure out how can we make that the most efficient route for that caller to reach whoever it is they need to in your office. Maybe it's shipping and receiving or engineering or sales or billing. How do we get that caller there? So our goal is to enhance your client and internal client experience for everybody. And we do that through call flow.
We also take a look at applications. Since COVID, of course, it's a whole new world. More people than ever are working remotely. So it becomes really important, all the applications that you use. Presence. I work from home full-time pretty much. So I'm able to log in and out of my mobility app. So everybody knows where I'm at, if I'm available. It just makes things more efficient, especially today with the workforce being so dispersed. Voicemail, how do you handle voicemail? Every user has a different preference for what they want. Some people want to read their voicemail, as a transcription. Some people love the visual voicemail. And a lot of people just like to listen to it kind of old school. So we take a look at all that for you and help get that customized. I mentioned mobility applications. So yeah, all of these things are more critical than ever, given the remote workforce.
Sarah, there's more and more documentation and opinions and articles out there about the new flex environment, right? So it used to be just work in the office or work at home, but now you've got people working at home for 2 or 3 days, coming into the office for 2 or 3 days. And what you want is, and what we try to focus on is, let's have the same experience no matter where you are, right? So if you're working from home, it works. If you're working in the office, you can come in and you log into a station. And one of the things that's really important with that is your desktop application and presence. So instead of calling and interrupting and going to voicemail, now for your internal parties, you can see if they're in a meeting, if they're in the office, if they're out. So
that's really the beauty of cloud. I mean, I love that I can bring my, MacBook Air, which I don't normally work on, to Reno when I come to visit, and I can log in and it's like I'm at my desktop that's issued to me by my company. So it makes things really easy.
And so what I find with most people, especially if you're coming from a legacy system, is they don't know what they don't know. And so our job is to help relate what's available, what can be done, and then make sure that it gets implemented correct.
Absolutely.
So specialty applications, call queuing is a good one. We've been doing this again since 1986 with some standard legacy phone systems. We find call queuing allows the caller to come in, and instead of ringing every office or every phone in the office, you can queue the call up. A lot of people think of it as please wait for the next available agent. But what we have found is if you can queue that call up for 15, 20 seconds, you have a lot higher probability of being answered by the party that can actually help them, instead of going to somebody else in the office by call flow that can't, and they just gotta interrupt with their disruptive ringing again, stops what they're doing. They have to take a message, they can't help them. So for primary answering positions, For accounts receivable, we have found this to be very effective. And as you can see on the screen, there's multiple levels. You can have your basic, you can have advanced and multi-channel. Multi-channel is really cool. If you're set up, you can do voice, SMS text, email, chat, callback, skills.
Through the web interface even.
Through a web interface. So if somebody emails you to your sales department, it gets queued up like a call and then appears to your agent as an email, and they can address it right then and there. And then I'd hate to say if somebody multitask, but I have seen it. Some people are doing voice calls, texting and email all at the same time.
Guilty of that.
Yeah. So, and then we get into conference room, audio visual, more and more of that, especially with the Zoom rooms and different collaborations. We can help with that. But collaboration is huge. Again, in today's environment of the flex working structure, right? I mean, where am I at today? Am I working from home, from my office, or from Starbucks? Collaboration is, how do you get together with your team members and effectively share documents and talk about projects? And used to be the hallway conversations. Well, now we're not in the hallway.
Did you know, even when I'm in the office now, I'm usually on the phone? I mean, Cindy called me yesterday because she didn't want to walk down the hall, so.
Oh, that's something else we can talk about. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, can I interrupt you quickly? Did you know I was only 9 years old when you started selling phone systems?
Ah.
I just did the math in my head. Yeah. So anyway. Little trivia for you out there.
There you go. Okay, now we're moving on.
Moving on.
Instant messaging. A lot of companies haven't really realized how that can help you, but especially if you are a business to residential, right? I mean, a lot of people don't use email, and it's been proven over and over and documented how the response time for SMS is much quicker because we're so overwhelmed with emails. But now out of your desktop, we can email a business number. They can respond to it, and then you can process it through your business processes as a note or a text. So a much more effective way. Oh, and the text can do it from their mobile apps too. So it makes it very, very efficient. Infrastructure. Oh, I thought we were supposed to switch.
No, it's still you.
Still me?
Yeah, you've got more, a lot more.
So the infrastructure, again, as part of your foundation, is what type of an equipment room do you have? I mean, that's drastically changing today as everything's going to the cloud. I can't tell you all the people we go to and we say, hey, where are you at with your phone systems? What's your cloud process or thought processes? And they look at me and say, well, your phone system is the last piece of equipment I have in the equipment room, or the last server on site, right? And so a lot of the equipment room design has changed, but you still have network equipment, you still have cabling, network switches, firewall, routers. And so in order to make sure that your cloud phone system works, we're going to run some network readiness tests and make sure you got good quality. Will your internet cover it? So as you are moving more stuff to the cloud, that's more impact on your internet bandwidth and your usability. So we'll run some tests to make sure that it works. And again, a lot of people think, hey, I have coax or Spectrum or whoever at 10 jillion gigs down, but they don't realize it's only 2 meg up.
Right, and that connection it doesn't come with a service level agreement, so it bounces throughout the day. I see it at home,
Right.
and you don't notice it until you put your voice on that, and then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, so we help you guide through that and make sure that you don't have any pitfalls when you go live, or at least minimize them. Cable infrastructure, what's your cabling? Is it an older building and you still have voice cable everywhere? Do we need to look at Cat 6, Cat 6A, or fiber? This is a big one, your existing desktops. Everybody takes it for granted that, oh, my PC works or my laptop works.
My operating system.
My operating system. There are minimum requirements. And back when we first started doing cloud and desktop applications, that kind of bit us in the tail a couple of times because everybody assumed, oh, we don't have to worry about it. And then it wouldn't take the software.
Well, and what about even things like your web browser? That's changing constantly too. Is it Internet Explorer? Does it work on Chrome? All things you got to be aware of.
So these are things we like to talk about in advance, and so prepare. So now that we've looked at the infrastructure, it's been evaluated. Oh, now the process begins.
Yeah, the fun begins.
Yeah, it's like I
say.
tell people, oh, doggone, you said yes. They look
Yeah.
at me like, what do you mean? You've been working so hard. And I'm like, well, now the work begins.
Yes, it does. So again, what we do is we take a really careful look at all of your existing services. So we're going to review your carrier bills. We're going to pull what's called your customer service records, CSR. Most of you know that, some of the bills that you pay every month for your phone service, they don't even give a breakdown of exactly what you're paying for. There's no lines on there. There's no services. It's just, pay this amount to AT&T or Spectrum. So you may not even know exactly what you're paying for and if you're using everything you're paying for. So we pull the customer service record, which has all of the details of every service on the account. It's the official record. And we go through that with a fine tooth comb. We were able to do that because we execute what's called a letter of agency. So that gives us authorization to work with the carriers directly on your behalf so that you don't have to get involved with that kind of stuff. Again, we analyze your existing contracts. Really important, as I mentioned, we do not want you to get stuck paying for multiple services.
But however, there will be some overlap.
Absolutely. There's going to be a minimum of 30 days overlap with every switch from TDM to cloud, or moving from any one voice service to another. There will always be an overlap, but we try to minimize the pain of that overlap. And we do that through continuous communication with the carriers. So port rejections happen. I'm sure that any of you who have moved from one phone system to another have experienced a port rejection. Basically, the losing carrier is looking for any reason possible to not let you leave. So
then you get the infamous JEPT.
yes, JEPT, you're in jeopardy. So we work with the carriers directly to get through that, to clear up the JEPs, and so that you're able to move your service to another provider. We also stay in close contact with the carriers on the status of the port. A lot of times the due dates will move around, so we try to minimize that and also keep you posted so that we can all be ready for port date, go live.
And we're also ready for that infamous time when they port 4 days early and when nobody's ready and expecting it because it just happened to go through their system quicker.
Yeah.
And
don't say that. That's a whole separate webinar on like my port terror stories.
Oh, there you go.
We won't go there today.
We won't go there today, but the point is we're here to help with that does happen, to help get you back online, because that's one of those moments.
Yeah, you're gonna want a therapist.
Yeah, you're gonna want a therapist.
And I'm gonna want a therapist. Who's my therapist?
I'll take it.
Okay. And then once, once.
Ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Chocolate, dark chocolate. So once the port's completed, we will also work with the losing carrier who you left to submit the cancellation orders and confirm that they actually stop billing for the service that you're no longer using. Again, you won't believe how many times I've had customers who attempt to cancel the services themselves, and they end up continuing to pay month after month because it takes an act of God sometimes to get the carriers to stop billing.
So we actually assist them with the correct letters and emails, right? Because
and verbiage.
because they have to do it.
They do. We could do it on their behalf with letter of agency.
Okay.
Yeah, but however however you want to work, right? We're there to help you, but a lot of our customers just don't want to deal with it, and we're happy to help.
Well, that's what you're paying us to do.
Yep.
So now, oh wow, after all this, we're just now getting to the actual phone system. So again, we'll review the basic configuration, review existing extensions and users, and you'll be shocked. I'm shocked every time. Somebody will say, oh, I need a phone system, I need 29 handsets. Well, then we painfully go through what I call a key sheet, which is first and last name, extension numbers,
Right.
departments.
Just a
And
set
go
of
through
20 or 30
We
pieces.
find that, oh, we missed the one in the bathroom, we missed the one in the kitchen
Warehouse.
and the warehouse. Oh, there's two in the warehouse. We forgot there was one back there. So
Yeah.
again, some clients get frustrated that we're trying to be overly thorough, but the last thing you want is a phone that somebody uses that's, well, it didn't make it over. Now you
Right.
have an added cost.
Well, now's the time to clean things up, right? I mean, this stuff, some of it has been sitting around for 30 years. Let's get it cleaned up.
Yeah, and you may not need it based on the new call routing and the way the phone system. So again, that's what we work on. Again, coordinating the program calls with the UCAS. So this is where I say we are politely your advocate and your interpreter between what we know you want and what the cloud people think you want. And I've always joked that in the telecom world, you could ask the same question, but it would depend on the day, the week, and who you talk to during that day to get the right answer. So again, we're your advocate in that to make sure that it is programmed correctly.
Yeah.
And depending on the complexity, it could be 1, 2, 3 programming calls with them. And then we also want to make sure that we confirm. So if you had any changes in your infrastructure with respect to cabling, additions, network cabling, firewalls, and so forth, we want to make sure that all of that's working when you're ready to plug in.
This one's mine.
Okay, well, I was going to let you do the receive the phones.
Yeah,
No?
yeah, that's this one. So again, as Michael mentioned, we're going to confirm that everything is ready. All the cabling's complete, your network infrastructure, firewalls all set and ready to go. Are the phones on site? Have they been delivered? I have had several instances where customers have taken delivery of the phones and then someone somewhere just kind of stuck them in a closet or something, and it took quite a while to track those down. So where are the phones? Let's find them. Let's get them plugged in and on the current correct desks and plug them into the network, confirm that you have connectivity and that the firewall is working, and do some test calls. Make sure that the call flow is programmed correctly.
Well, also, I find it happens a lot. I was going to say it's humorous, but it's not. The clients say, hey, I don't want to pay you to do all this. My guys can do it. But they don't realize you got to receive them. You got to take them out of the box. Sometimes you got to build the phones.
You have to assemble them.
Assemble it.
It's not as easy as you would think.
And then you need to plug them in, make sure that they log in correctly. Any firmware updates?
Well, yeah. So what's the first thing you have to do when you buy a new iPhone, right? You're all excited. You have your iPhone, you turn it on, and you have to start a software download. It's the same thing with an IP phone. Most likely you're going to need a firmware update, and then you'll need to cycle and reboot the phones before they will come up. And
so there is a process, and it does take time.
Absolutely. You need to be prepared for that.
So end user training, this is the good one, right?
There's no more manuals.
Oh,
No more paper.
no more manuals, no more paper. So a lot of times we hear, and we've been dealing, and quite frankly, we've been dealing with this since 1986 with, hey, how hard can it be to learn a new phone system? And Nancy, you'll laugh at this. We'd always have to have a sign-in sheet because the first guy to throw a phone was the one that didn't come to training. And so training is important, right? You're making an investment in time and energy. Your goal is to enhance customer experience, internal and external. So let's make sure you know how to use the phone. So
right, and take advantage of all the features that are available.
Take advantage of it. I mean, through our old legacy days, if you will, premise, that's what we did really well. We made sure that our clients utilized the features to enhance their business and hopefully to make it better, right? So anyway, again, a lot of our competition and the agents will say, hey, go online. It's free. So
Yeah,
it's not
free
going to
30
cost you.
minutes.
Why pay PacStates to help you? It's a free video. Well, I can tell you from experience, 99% of the people will not go online and take it. And if they do, they're multitasking and not paying
Yeah.
attention. And then all they do is pick up the phone, dial 9 and go away. So they're really not utilizing the benefits of the phone system. So our recommendation is have PacStates provide personal on-site training customized to your call flow.
Yeah, you'll get the most out of the system.
And that way you get the most out of what's going
And
on.
maybe some free jerky if Joseph shows up that day.
Oh, yeah, if we have
Special
Joseph
jerky.
come up, he specializes in his jerky. Oh, and then the ultimate first day
Go
live.
live. It's got you on.
Oh, that's me? Okay, this is where we'll assist with call handling jitters, right? Especially the main answering position. And funny enough, it used to be in the old days that we had to do cutovers on Friday. And what we found is, well, one, if there was an issue, nobody was home because all the carriers and everybody was gone. So we really like to do our cutovers in midweek and say 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And so what happens is if you do it on Friday, one, nobody's home. Two, everybody goes home over the weekend and stresses over it, and they come in Monday morning and they forget the
Yeah,
training.
that's a rough start to the week.
Yeah, rough start, right? So we like a midweek, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon if we can.
Well,
And
and it's
then,
up to you, really, whatever is going to be least disruptive to your business, but
but what we found that
Yeah,
helps is
absolutely.
that way we're there and you can go home that night, get a nice night's sleep, come in the next morning refreshed because you know how to use the phone system. So those are the things that we work with you, right? Want to make sure all the voicemail boxes are set up and working. I can't tell you all the people we go back in a 30-day review and 60% of the voicemails haven't been implemented and they wonder why they're not getting them.
yeah, that's a problem.
And obviously adjust any call flow parameters, because if it doesn't work exactly like we thought it would, or help you exactly the way, we can make changes on the fly.
Yeah, there's always a little tweaking once we go live.
Well, here's kind of a picture of a happy experience, right? You've got your desktop, you've got your mobile app, everything's working. I know who's on the phone, who's not. I can transfer calls, we can collaborate, we can do instant video collaboration, share documents and get stuff done.
Yeah, take advantage of technology.
Take advantage of it. So I want to thank everybody for coming and joining us. You know, the main intent of this, again, because I just over and over, we're reminding our clients and potential clients as they maybe get a little frustrated that we're asking for all this information because they're under the assumption they saw an ad on Southwest or something, right? That says, hey, get a quote, get it in. It's still a phone system and there's a lot involved. A lot of companies that are promoting them really don't have the experience on call flow. That's what we feel is really important, because why make the investment if it's not really going to help your business?
And you're going to have to put the time in one way or another. We prefer to do it on the front end rather than after the fact.
Exactly.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for
Thanks.
joining us.
So we have some questions that I'd
All
like to
right.
answer you guys.
That's exciting.
For those of you that have live questions, go ahead and either raise your hand, happy to take you that way. Put it in the chat box. Many of you have already sent me some text message requests because you didn't want to show up on here, so it's through phone. And then I also invite you to just unmute your phone and ask any questions live as well. And I know there's several of you that are on here looking for some relevant content to your specific situation. So don't be shy, whether you do it here with us right now in the Zoom Biz Tech Talk conversations, or you call us live right afterwards. They are available. We have lots of different experts on hand to help out today because we knew there'd be some very intricate questions as soon as Sarah started sharing
It's a
some of the
popular-
challenges. By the way, the first question was, Sarah, they want you to share one of your favorite challenges.
Oh, wow. Put me on the spot. Who asked that? I can't ask. Okay. Well, this happened many years ago, but I had a customer, a large casino in town, and the carrier and the customer kept moving the port date. I always caution against that. It's just a really bad idea to move a port date once it's set. It was moved to, I think it was moved to Friday. Anyway, the carrier kind of ignored that and they just released their numbers and they didn't go anywhere. So for 36 hours, a casino had no phone service. So I worked on it all weekend long and got them help, but that's something that I will never forget. I hope he's not on this call. Well, actually, I hope he is because he can talk about it because he remembers, but that's just one. And yeah, so you put me on the spot. I'm sure there are others, but yeah.
One thing we run into a lot and we joke about the fine print, but AT&T over the last 9 months to 12 months has been raising rates on their analog.
Yeah, isn't it like $300 for a POTS line now?
Yeah, so we've seen it, somebody's used to paying a couple $100 and it goes up to 1,000. And then they politely, we had one client where they politely offered to help, and next thing you know, they never said yes, they never signed an agreement,
yeah.
they never had anything, but they ended up showing up
Yeah.
to install UVers.
Right.
And it was a bunch of services they didn't need for a business, UVerse for a business.
Right.
And it took us 6 months of going through that and helping them unravel that mess.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of, I'm oftentimes a billing advocate for customers because things will be installed by carriers, believe it or not, without authority. And we have to go back and get it cleaned up after the fact.
But they feel free to bill you.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The billing always works. Isn't that weird? It always works.
Okay, rabbit hole. Any more questions?
We do have a few more questions. I want to give anyone live the opportunity of unmuting themselves if you haven't seen where that button.
Yeah,
is.
who's
It's
there?
down on the left-hand side of your
Speak up.
screen at the bottom. And I don't want to call anyone out. So if anybody does have any direct questions about situations and things that have happened with you that maybe you're trying to figure out. I know there's a lot of, as they say, carrier questions. I have a question just because I know of a certain situation that had happened here. Michael accidentally got involved with it. Just by standing in line as a customer at somebody's location one time. And I know we can't share company names, but do you want to share that?
Well, that was
scenario?
actually the one that I just
Was it?
mentioned.
Right.
I was buying some stuff and just happened to, they'd ask where I worked and what I did. And turned out they were the ones that their eyes lit up and they go, oh my God, we've been fighting with AT&T now for 90 days. Our bill went from 200 to 1,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah, that's happening. Kind of calm and,
Right.
you know, can we help you? And then, yeah, and then they came and installed stuff and started billing them. And so we got all that money back and then got them switched over to a service that would work for them. But yeah, that was, I think that took over 6 months of.
And AT&T went in and installed cable. That was the part that I remember.
Yeah,
What-
they installed it to their facility, the UVerse and so forth. Yeah, so, but yeah, they'll trick you. And then whenever the client tried to call, they would say, well, wait, that's a different department. Wait,
Yeah.
that's a different
They
department.
will.
They
They
would
will
get
trick you.
transferred around 3 or 4 times. And most of the people, I mean, this is the way it's been for ever since they took the center away from Reno, right? Is the Californians and
Hey,
Kansas
I'm in
City,
California now.
the California AT&T. So, I mean, they don't know, they don't even know what services are available
Yeah.
in Nevada. I can't tell all the
Actually-
times Chrissy
Mhm.
is training or explaining to somebody that, oh no, this service, classic Centrex, is still available.
Right. Yeah, if you know, a lot of the employees at the carriers don't even know how to access the systems that you are being billed from. So if that tells you anything, you know, it's like, it's such a legacy product that used to be provided by Nevada Bell that, you know, people at AT&T may not even know it exists, believe it or not, so.
But they're not even here. Now they may be
That's
in
true.
Taiwan or wherever.
Yeah.
So anyway, any other questions?
I have a couple more questions that have come in. What is the typical time frame of considering what type of phone systems, carriers, what they need for infrastructure setup, et cetera? Do they need to start planning this in advance?
Yeah. Yes,
I'd say 4 to 6 months.
I agree.
For a lot of our larger premise customers that are on our support, we have a 6-month review. And a year out, we start talking about, hey, are you thinking about this? You know, where are you at? Here's what your support looks like. Here's, you know, what's changing in your business. Go through all those conversations. But yeah, we'll start because you may need that much time to look at your existing contracts. So you may have a contract that terminates for your internet 3 or 4 months before your phone system support,
Well, yeah, and there may be an auto renewal clause too that we have to stay ahead of. So
which is 60 days.
yeah,
typically.
60 to 90 days. So yeah, we want to get in there at least, well, 4 to 6 months is a good timeline, just so we can take a look at everything that you have and uncover, you know, all of the kind of gotchas that we need to as far ahead of time as possible. And plus, you know, if you're currently today, you know, maybe a coax internet is sufficient, but if you're putting your voice on your data network, we recommend fiber for that. So you may want to order fiber service, and that can take as you probably know, months, many months,
90 to 120 days,
Yes.
even if it's in your building.
or longer. If they're running it off a pole, I've seen it take
Yeah.
9 months. So yeah.
So in a perfect world, we'd like to start talking and, a year out, just to make sure, a quick review will tell us where you're at with all your contracts and services and what you're looking at, especially if you're looking at moving your facilities and or expanding. Again, I just remind people, we're not a major metropolitan. We do not have all services at all addresses. So with an address, within 24 hours, we can tell you all the options that are available.
Yeah.
I
Usually
mean,
within 10, 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, I hate to chuckle, but I get people that say, hey, I just signed this lease. I got this
Oh.
great deal. And my heart just sinks because I know why they got a good deal, because
No fiber.
there's no fiber there, there's no services. And, they're saying, hey, I just signed this lease. Here's the address. I need you to get fiber put in. And then we're looking at a wireless
Yeah.
internet access because there's nothing available.
Yeah.
So,
But we do have stopgaps too. We have temporary solutions. So we have a lot of tools in our kit to help you out, as long as we can get in there early and plan. We like to come up with, what if scenarios and plan for particular things that we know that can happen with timelines. So the more time, the better. I hope that answers your question. 4 to 6 months at least.
I've got a few more questions thrown at us from social media. So what are the possible issues when a customer thinks they can handle this process on their own?
we just went through them.
Okay.
Tell them to get
Oh,
the,
that's a lot. Well,
tell them
yeah.
to get the recording. So really the whole intent of this discussion is to let people know that it's not plug and play, and there are a lot of items that contribute to a successful implementation.
And I would say it's just that you don't know what you don't know. So if you haven't been in the telco industry for quite a long time, I mean, there's a lot I don't know, and I've been doing this not as long as you, but since 2007. So I'm not that old. So
You didn't start at 9?
no, I didn't start at 9, although it feels that way sometimes. But you're not going to know the terminology. You're not going to know what to ask for. You're not going to know the gotchas. So I don't know. It's kind of a blanket response, but you don't know what you don't know. So let us kind of keep you out of trouble when it comes to. I mean, even if you're not purchasing it from us. I mean, I've done this for a long time. I have customers who, maybe they're not PacStates customers, but I worked with them a long time ago. They still call me sometimes on the weekends. They'll text me and just say, hey, can I get your opinion on this? And I'm happy to help. So, I'll let you know what I know.
One of the other questions was, what's happening with the old copper infrastructure here in Reno? Is VoIP truly the future?
That is a great question. So I will tell you, I've been hearing about this since I worked at AT&T, and I think they called it the 2020 project. All copper was going to be gone by 2020. Obviously, that's not the case, and there are some regulatory issues too. But make no mistake, copper is being phased out. We're dealing with it right now with a lot of AT&T customers, and also CLEC customers, the carriers that use AT&T to provide the analog services, because there's a lot of pressure. They don't want to maintain those networks anymore. It's very expensive for them, for the technicians, and the maintenance of those. So that it will go away, but it's not anytime soon. So again, just call me if you're getting pressure from a direct rep telling you that this is no longer offered, that you can't renew your Centrex lines. That's not the case, but they're not going to tell you that. So just reach out to me, and I'll tell you what the deal is.
And you're seeing it reflective. I mean, how do you change behavior, right? It's all based on pricing. So that's why AT&T has tripled, quadrupled their pricing.
Yeah.
Not only to the business and resident, but also to the other businesses, like the other carriers that they use the backbone on, right? That's why some of our clients were aggressively going out saying, hey, your XYZ service is going to be tripling in cost. We need to look at some alternatives.
Yeah,
right?
They're doing everything they can to move customers to IP. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's still here. It's not going away. I mean, I can't say for sure, but it's not going away in 6 to 12 months. But you're going to feel the heat, and it's going to be difficult for you to keep those services, especially if you're working directly with the carriers, because they're going to do everything they can to get you on IP technology.
And then when, especially with AT&T, hate to beat up on them, but they make it easy. When you call on your bill, you get transferred to 4 or 5 different departments.
You usually end up with a salesperson who's selling fiber.
See how it works. Okay, next.
Next.
All right, I have another question. Should we have all of our current analog phone lines labeled to include the fire alarm panels labeled marked?
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've actually had some of our larger clients paying us to come in and
Mhm.
IDing because
Yep. Tagging
after
and
years
toning.
and years and years and years of adding and deleting and moving stuff, we're actually going in and finding out what's live and
What's dead at the IMPO that's not working. Absolutely.
worse yet, what's dead at the info that they're still paying for.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times that happens. So yeah, and do it now when you're not in the midst of a project, right?
Right.
Preparation is everything.
Right, I think that was the end of our questions, unless we have anybody live that would like to jump in and ask anything. Those were the questions that were sent in.
So I would like to note that we have an ebook or an e-workbook, if you will, that's available. You can request from us that basically steps you through everything we talked about today in a format that will allow you to help organize your thoughts and what you have and maybe things you need to look out for.
I think we'll send that out to all of our registrants today. So everyone who is joining us today on the webinar side or that registered, we'll go ahead and send that out right afterwards. And so if anyone has questions, Michael, is there any specific number or just the name 828-2020?
That'll work.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, for anyone who has any questions and doesn't receive this as an immediate follow-up by email, be sure and just give us a call at 775-828-2020. And I'm sure you will get a very quick response. They will let me know and I will get it out to all of you. As a thank you for joining us today as well. PacStates is always here, always available to answer the calls, answer your questions, and help support you in all of your fun IT challenges. Next month, we'll have another one of these Biz Tech Talks as we do every single month. We ask you guys to consider joining. The simple hour that you spend with us more often than not will help you save hours and hours of frustration. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next month. Biz Tech Talk as well. Michael, do you have any closing thoughts? Sarah?
No, thank you,
you
Sarah.
so much for joining. I really appreciate it. I can't see who's out there, but I'm sure I know a lot of you. So thank you. Call me, email me anytime, and have a great rest of your week.
Email. What is your email?
Oh, sbridge@pacstatesnb.com.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day.